Hi, I'm Jonathan Matusitz, and I'm here to define a very complex topic, terrorism. Now, the practice of terrorism has existed for thousands of years, but the very first time that the word was defined was in 1793, during the French Revolution. The people who were beheading political opponents, in which 20 to 40,000 people were beheaded, called themselves terrorists, le gouvernement de la terreur, the government of terror. Ever since, there have been over 200 definitions of terrorism. In fact, a lot of people could not agree on what a terrorist was. For some people, a Buddhist from Tibet was a terrorist. For other people, Al-Qaeda fighters were not terrorists, but freedom fighters or resistance fighters. Fortunately, in the late 80s, two guys from Holland, Youngman and Schmidt, looked at all those definitions of terrorism and did a content analysis to look for common themes. In 83.5% of all the definitions of terrorism, the word violence appeared. In 65% of all those definitions, the term political goals appeared. And in about 50% of all those definitions, the concept of fear or terror appeared. Finally, we had a definition that most people could agree on, and the definition was this: terrorism is the use of violence to create fear or terror for political goals. And of course, political goals include religious goals and ideological goals. Now, looking at the definition of terrorism, which was very broad, we can break it down into a few categories. For example, we can compare old terrorism with new terrorism. Old terrorism is discriminate. Only specific targets had to be killed. For example, the Red Brigades, that left-wing terrorist group in Italy, would only kill politicians or political rivals. They would leave children and women out. Those people should not have been killed, and they never were killed. In the case of new terrorism, terrorism is indiscriminate, as many people need to go because those people are infidels. Of course, I'm thinking about Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, and radical Islamist groups. Another definition of terrorism that uses categories is the definition that uses the categories of classical terrorism, modern terrorism, and postmodern terrorism. Classical terrorism is like old terrorism, is discriminate. Only specific targets need to be killed. In the case of modern terrorism, everybody needs to go. Women, children, all the infidels, they need to be wiped out. And in the case of postmodern terrorism, the entire earth needs to be cleansed and replaced by a new ideology. I'm thinking about the Japanese death cult, Aum Shinrikyo. In the mid-1990s, they went to the Tokyo subway with the intention of wiping out the entire country of Japan, and eventually, with their sarin gas, wiping out the entire earth. Fortunately, it did not happen. Well, I would like to thank you for paying attention to this video. You know, the concept of terrorism is very important. Thank you.